The Olympics only come around every 4 years, or 3 because of COVID, but you get the point. They serve as the pinnacle of human achievement, where athletes push themselves beyond what was once believed possible. Or they play ping pong really, really well. There's a lot of variety in what gets considered an Olympic sport, but who cares about humans? We love D&D on this channel, and as I watch the Olympics, I can't help but wonder which D&D monsters would absolutely destroy the field in these games. So that's what I set out to find. Let's see which terrors of the Monster Manual and beyond could find themselves on a podium if they were competing in Paris. Without further ado, let's get started. Let's start with a classic. There are lots of swimming events out there, and there are tons of creatures in the Monster Manual that have a swim speed. This also feels like a good time to mention that I'm not including real-life animals in this. You probably don't need me to tell you that a shark could outswim Katie Ledecky, though I bet it would be kind of close. Looking at the monsters, you might think bullywugs could take the gold, or black dragons, maybe even a kraken. But surprisingly, the fastest swimming monster in D&D is a Merid, which I guess makes sense, because if a genie knows there's gold on the line, they're winning that race. Technically, water elemental, they're just as fast, and leviathans have the fastest swimming speed of all, but I don't think water can compete in swimming, so I'm giving it to the Merid instead. Noah Lyles won the 100-meter sprint this year with a ridiculous time of 9.79 seconds. To put that in context, your average adventurer can dash for 60 feet in a turn, which lasts 6 seconds, so they're moving at 10 feet per second. That means they'd run that same 100 meters in about 32 seconds. I'm going to be honest, D&D speed is kind of whack. That is really, really slow. Real life might actually win this one. The fastest sprinters in all of D&D are quicklings, tiny little fae that have a movement speed of 120 feet. If they dash, that's 240 feet in 6 seconds, or 40 feet per second. At that speed, it would take the fastest monster in all of D&D 8.2 seconds to run 100 meters. So yes, quicklings would win this one, and they'd probably crush all of the running events. That was also way more math than I wanted to do for this video, but don't worry, the rest of these are going to be just as scientific. Breakdancing just got added to these Olympics, and while I have no personal experience competing, I'd imagine you need a lot of flexibility, rhythm, and the ability to spin on your head. So that eliminates oozes. I think satyrs would be pretty good at this one. They have high dexterity, are literally holding an instrument in their artwork, so you know they have rhythm, and they're always partying, aka dancing. They might not take gold, but they'll definitely be a hit in the Olympic Village, and that's worth something too. It's elves. Let's move on. There are a few different forms of wrestling at the Olympics, but I don't think the style matters much. The same monster is taking all of the golds. Ropers will just grab their opponent from across the ring with their 50-foot-long tentacles and pin them to the mat every single time. Their tentacles also give you disadvantage on strength checks to get out, so the longer the match goes on, the weaker the opponent. They won't even need help getting on the podium. They have a climb speed for that. Equestrian sports like dressage and jumping are definitely the most snooty sports in the Olympics by virtue of being on horseback. You can only assume they check your bank account before each competition just to make sure you can actually afford to be there. The obvious answer for these are centaurs. They're literally part horse, but I think you have to be riding one to compete, so in my opinion, they're disqualified. That means we're looking for creatures who have enough time to build trust between them and their horse, the posh disposition that comes with the sport, and generational wealth. So I think gold dragons in human form would be incredible equestrians. They have years and years worth of time to train, a general better than you attitude around other dragons, and their scales are literally gold. Come on, it's meant to be. Rugby is essentially warfare on a playing field. You need to be fast, strong, and able to bowl people over as you sprint for a try. Just picture the exact opposite of me and you have the perfect rugby player. Orcs are basically rugby players that were told they don't have to follow any rules, and they're excellent team players considering how many hordes are constantly attacking every little town that D&D parties come across. So they're my vote on this one, but shout out to goblins too. They probably can't tackle anybody, but I bet nobody could tackle them either. Gymnastics requires an incredible amount of both strength and acrobatics, with the ability to launch yourself into the air and then do like 20 flips while you're up there. I'm not sure any D&D creatures could actually challenge Simone Biles. She's that good, especially considering you need to be great in multiple different styles to win the all-around gold. But I think there are a few who could challenge her in 2 specific events. First is the uneven bars, where you have to flip and twist your body between 2 poles that are at different heights. Hook horrors literally have hooks for hands, so personally, I think that gives them a major edge in grabbing onto the bars. Enough for gold? Maybe. Second, when doing a floor routine, you have to use your own strength and momentum to get up into the air and execute flips and other maneuvers. Grungs don't have any strength at all, but because they're frogs, they can jump 15 feet straight up in the air without needing a running start. Plenty of time to do a few flips and get lots of points. Unfortunately, their skin is covered in poison, so that would cause some serious delays as they wipe down the mat every time they compete, But if the Olympic Committee can deal with that, I think they're a strong contender for this one. The long jump is a simple sport. You run a little bit and then you jump as far as you can. Of course, us humans have pushed that simple sport to ridiculous lengths. The current world record is a little over 29 feet long. That's further than an actual tiger can jump. That said, there is one monster in D&D who can challenge us. Bullets can leap 30 feet in one go, just barely clinching the gold over even the best humans. And better yet, you land in sand when you jump, so they can just burrow right on down when they're done and wait for the medal ceremony. Rowing, as well as all of the canoe and kayaking sports really, are some of the more underrated Olympic games. They take a lot of athleticism, especially upper body and core strength, to get those boats moving quickly and to avoid different obstacles. I could just try to find the strongest monsters in the manual for this one, or the ones that have the most constitution since you need a lot of endurance, but a lot of the strongest monsters wouldn't actually fit into the canoe, kind of a prereq for competing. So instead, I went with a different approach. You don't need crazy strength when you can just rotate between multiple sets of arms. So Huagin Barons have 4 arms, so while 2 are resting, the other pair can put their 19 in strength to good use. No way anybody is beating the competitor who is taking free breaks while still rowing. Plus, they live in the water, so they'd probably do well with the boat sport. Last but not least, we have table tennis. Yes, I know, ping pong might seem like a funny sport to have in the Olympics, but it actually requires inhuman reflexes to react to a ball moving that quickly and hit it back into play. We're looking for creatures with high dexterity and wisdom to both perceive and react to the ball, as well as a lot of range to reach every shot. There's only one monster that I found in my extensive 5 minutes of research that has all those qualities. Empyreans, the literal children of the gods. They have over a 20 in every stat and are size huge, so no shot will be too far for them. That's what it takes to beat the champions who are competing for gold in table tennis. So think about that next time you make fun of the sport. But actually though, Empyreans are the real answer to this whole video. They probably win almost every medal in the whole Olympics. They have a 30 in strength, run, swim, and fly speeds, and are massive in size. I guess they might lose Equestrian because they probably crush a horse and they probably won't fit into a canoe. But other than that, just give them all the gold medals. Before I sign off, I do want to give a few dishonorable mentions. Medals that I don't think D&D monsters would just win, but would make the sport obsolete. High jump is a good example of this. Doesn't matter how high you put that bar, anything with a fly speed is going to be able to beat it. Pole vaulting is a little tougher because you have to be grasping the pole as you go over, so sorry beholders, you're not meddling in this one. But anything with both hands and wings, like horned devils, are going to be unstoppable. For similar reasons, D&D monsters basically solve basketball. A team of flying creatures can just endlessly dunk the ball, and with even moderate defense, they'll win every time. Not to mention, there are lots of creatures that can drop the ball in from above the hoop while standing. I don't think the Dream Team can stop Orcus and 4 Night Stalkers. Weightlifting is impressive because the human body can only get so strong. But in a world where multiple monsters have strength scores over 20, becomes a lot less of a feat. And fencing is just fancy sword fighting. There are lots of monsters in D&D who can fight with swords. The more I think about it, the more I could probably say this about every sport in the Olympics. Those are my scientific, 100% accurate picks for which D&D monsters could take home the gold at the Olympic Games. Did I miss any monsters that you think would be cleaning it up right now in Paris? Or is one of my choices way off base? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the Bard's College. I make videos about D&D and DMing, as well as weird ones like this from time to time. So if you enjoyed it, stick around. But for now, good luck, and remember, crit your players.